Today, I sat down with President Trump's Border Czar, Tom Homan, who just wrapped up a visit right here in El Paso. Homan and U.S. Secretary of Defense Pete Hedspeth were at Fort Bliss yesterday to visit deployed troops. They were also at Sunland Park along the border wall near Anapata. The two are advocating for President Trump's border mission to crack down on illegal immigration. Yesterday, they said the Department of Defense would provide any resources to Border Patrol. And here's more from my exclusive one-on-one interview with the Border Czar from this morning. It's extra depth you'll see only on ABC 7. You know, we'll ask the obvious question. What was it like for you to get a first-hand look at our border here in El Paso, along with the Defense Secretary Hedspeth?
Look, I've been in El Paso border many times throughout my career, but yesterday was something I've never seen before in my career. Seeing the amount of military on the border standing shoulder to shoulder with Border Patrol being a force multiplier, I think it was amazing. And I can tell you, El Paso sectors, we're locked down here. And the men and women of the Border Patrol have been overwhelmed for 4 years. Having the military on the border with them gives them some relief, but also secures the border at the highest level I've seen in a long time.
And Mr. Homan, when the Trump administration announced that ICE would and could go into schools and churches, some local leaders here in the El Paso area spoke out, and that included the bishop of the El Paso diocese, and he said, quote, "Mass deportations can never be reconciled with Christian principles or basic human decency," end quote. How do you feel when you hear comments like this, particularly from somebody like a priest or in this case, the bishop?
Well, look, as a lifelong Catholic, he's got problems in the Catholic Church he should be concentrating on, not our immigration enforcement. That's my personal opinion. But look, everybody's mismessaging what we did, the sensitive location policy. ICE was the only federal law enforcement agency that had those policies. FBI walks in college campuses every day to arrest people, so does DEA. So look, what it basically says is, if we have a significant public safety threat or a national security threat, for instance, MS-13 member, senior in high school, and we know he's selling drugs, we know he's strong-arming other children at school, we're going to go and arrest him. Doesn't mean we're doing a sweep of the high school. We're not doing sweeps. We're not doing sweeps at elementary school. We're not going to walk into church and do a large enforcement operation. But when we have a public safety threat or national security threat, there's no safe harbor. There's sanctuary for them. So we're going to go. We got to go. But you know, the left is pushing this message up. We're going to raid churches. We're going to raid schools. It's simply not true.
Should people, particularly in a border community like ours here in the El Paso and Las Cruces area, should they be worried about making sure, since we do have checkpoints here and there up and down Interstate 10 and in other areas, should people be more cognizant of carrying papers, birth certificates, passports, you name it? I mean, should people worry about that? Will there be, in the next phases, will there be, you know, more Border Patrol type stops and such like that?
I wouldn't worry about that to an extent. I mean, look, if you have a green card or something, you're required to carry it with you, first of all, right? But look, again, we're not doing area control, which means we're not going to a large place and say, okay, everybody show me your IDs. That's not the way we work. Everybody ICE arrests is a targeted enforcement operation. They actually do what they call a fugitive operation sheet. They know exactly who they're looking for, pretty much where they're going to find them, and other issues, other children in the house, because they do a lot of investigation before they go arrest somebody. So look, right now we're concentrating on public safety threats and national security threats, but I've said from day one, if you're in the country illegally, you're not off the table.
Also, we have elected officials here in El Paso, and that includes the El Paso mayor, the county judge, who have said that they're not necessarily going to concentrate on enforcing immigration policies. What do you say to some of those local leaders in border cities that are saying similar stuff?
Well, look, I find it amazing that any elected mayor, elected city councilman, or governor does not want public safety threats removed from their community. That's their number one responsibility, is protection of the constituents. So why not work with us and help us remove public safety threats from your community? Isn't that their job?
And you can watch my extended interview with Border Czar Tom Homan on the KVIA ABC 7 CTV app. We'll be uploading it tomorrow morning. We'll also put it in the extra section. You can find our CTV app for free on Roku, Fire TV, and of course on Apple TV as well. Hey, changing gears today. All right, we'll see you again in just a bit, Doppler Dave. And now to extra depth. President Donald Trump's border czar, Tom Homan, spent his second day in El Paso this morning after he took a tour with the border with members of the military, some from Fort Bliss. Homan, of course, arrived with the new Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, on Monday. And this is Tom Homan this morning in our ABC 7 studios. I was able to speak exclusively with the border czar one-on-one as he chatted with me about everything from the current ICE raids to the cooperation with the state of Texas to cooperation with Mexico's President Claudia Sheinbaum and the Mexican National Guard that will be sent to the border to help the USA in its fight against drugs and people smuggling. And that also includes President Trump and the U.S. agreeing to Mexico to help stop firearms and ammunition from leaving our country heading south into Juarez. Somebody that crosses the border pretty regularly, sometimes they do have southbound checks already with Customs and Border Protection. Will those be vamped up a little bit, or what's the process with that part of the agreement on the U.S. side? As
you said, we do the southbound operations all the time. We're just going to increase the frequency of that and the frequency of how many port of entries we do it at. Something we've done for a long time, we're going to increase them. Look, we should have a great partnership with Mexico, and we'll do everything we can to have a great partnership, which means there's give and takes.
Once again, you can catch the full interview with border czar Tom Homan in Extra Depth. That is coming up tonight, exclusively on ABC 7 at 10.
El Paso City Council